Hello students, Mr. John here with Chapter 19, Lesson 4. It is called Farmers, a New Political Force. I know what you're thinking. Farming and politics in the same lesson. How do they manage to take the two most boring subjects and throw them together for the perfect storm of non-interesting material? It's a terrible combination, like being stuck at home for a snow day and the Wi-Fi being out. It's just bad. But to spice this up, I'm going to put in a lot of farmer jokes, and while I'm at it, I will hide random links throughout the lesson, and who knows what will be in there. Eat that, boredom. Alright, let's move on to the farmers. So, in the late 1800s, it was hard times for farmers. A major problem was that all those people had moved into the Great Plains to farm, and this led to a substantially increased supply of food. But you still had the same amount of mouths to feed, so you had more supply with the same demand, so prices of the food dropped, meaning farmers were making less and less money making the same amount of crops. So they're doing the same amount of work, but getting paid less for it. Not cool. Some other problems that were that, like, banks charged high interest rates. So if Farmer Joe had to finance a new mechanical reaper, the bank was going to stick it to him. Another thing was the cost of shipping goods on the railroad. The railroads charged high prices to ship Farmer Joe's crops. So, with every farmer suffering from these same types of hardships, they began to work together to essentially organize. The first farmers' organization was a coalition of farming groups called the National Grange. Now, the National Grange was originally more of a like a social organization. They would plan social events so that all the farmers, out in the country where they're spread out pretty far and they work all the time, they need to let off a little bit of steam every once in a while, so they would hold these social events so the farmers' families could get together and have a little bit of fun. I imagine they didn't get out much. And they also originally helped educate new farmers on how to, farm properly, keep your livestock alive, things like that. But when times got tough for farmers in the 1870s, the Grange basically turned to more serious matters. They set up their own private farmer stores run by the farmers themselves. These were called cooperatives. So it was like a private store for farmers where they had better prices than the regular store. And also, fun little nugget, they wouldn't give any credit. You had to buy everything with cash. This was to help the farmers prevent themselves from going into debt, which was a problem. I don't have any pictures of cooperatives, but I have a picture of me and Jackson at the tractor supply store, and that's kind of close. The Grange also began to petition to the state government. They actually convinced a few states to set price limits for the railroads. But under pressure from the railroad companies themselves, the rate limits ended up being repealed. The cooperatives ended up dying off in the 1880s because the farmers never had any cash, except if they had just sold their crops. So they'd make a whole bunch of money once a year and then have to live on that throughout the course of the year. So they usually were in the habit of taking credit and then paying it back when they sold their crops and cycling through that. So the cooperatives died off, just like all the... trying to think of a store chain that's died off. Blockbuster. Just like all the Blockbuster videos died off, the cooperatives died off. I don't even know if you guys know what Blockbuster video is. Alright. Although the National Grange faded away, regional farmers' alliances began to grow. Regional as in, like, there's one in the south, there's one in the west, there's one in the north, maybe one in the New England area. There was even an African American farmers' alliance. These alliances would basically work to help farmers buy stuff in bulk. So, like, instead of you going to the store to buy toilet paper and your neighbor going to the store to buy toilet paper, you both save some money by going halvesies on a gigantic pack of toilet paper from Costco. That's what they did, but with other farming supplies and seeds and things like that. They worked together to get better prices and buy in bulk. They even proposed to the government that the government build warehouses for the farmers to store their crops once they were harvested so that they could wait for the prices to go up. Did that actually happen? Not so much. They also advocated that while the farmers were waiting for their crops to be able to be sold, that they could live off of government loans. This was what they were advocating. It's not really, didn't really happen. The Farmers' Alliances actually gained power and could have stayed a major contender, but regional differences, like things that had caused the Civil War, just the way things are different in different areas of the country in the way they farm and the culture, these regional differences would sort of stall the height of power for these farmers' organizations. Farmers' Alliance, not Rebel Alliance, says Mr. Yund. All right, hey, the Farmers' Alliances became a powerful political force in the 1890 election. The candidates won a whopping 6 governorships, so that's kind of like the president of a state. It's pretty big. 3 Senate seats, as well as 50 seats in the House of Representatives. Pretty good. All this success convinced them to become a national party. It was called the People's Party of the USA, or better known as the Populist Party. What the heck is populists? Or what is populism? It's not the same as being popular. It's populist. Populism is the simplest term, or in the simplest terms, is described as an appeal to the common people. The Populist Party at this time thought that the government should own the railroads and the telegraph lines, sort of like utilities. Now this next part can be confusing. I didn't go into too much detail. The Populist Party wanted to end the gold standard and replace it with unlimited silver coins. So initially, if you had $1 right here, we have $10. We got a 10 for a $10 bill, and it had a gold standard behind it. That means that I could go and I could exchange this $10 bill for $10 worth of gold. It was backed by gold somewhere. A lot of the gold for this time period was stored in Fort Knox, is where the gold was. There's still gold there, but we gave up on the gold standard a long time ago. Not quite a century ago. But that's what it means. It means that the paper money was literally backed up by an equivalent amount of gold. So the populists wanted to get rid of the gold standard, and they wanted to flood the market with silver coins. Why? Through complex economics that I don't even totally understand. They thought that the influx of silver coinage would raise the prices of their goods and raise their incomes, as well as help them pay off their loans. They thought it would be good for them, so they wanted it done. They had some other big ideas too. They wanted 1-term limits for the president and vice president. We have 2-term limits now. They wanted the direct election of senators, like we have now, and they wanted shorter hours for workers and a national income tax. And they wanted that tax to tax wealthier people more, like we have now, a progressive tax bracket. In the local elections of 1894, the populists did very well running on these platforms. They had high hopes for the upcoming presidential election of 1896, but what they lacked was a lot of money and organization. They're still kind of the new kids on the block. Alright, the lack of money and organization would have hurt the populists, but the real problem was the times they lived in. The North and the South, this is the late 1800s, they were still bitter about the Civil War. Southerners in particular were unwilling to cooperate with black farmers' alliances. Now, despite this and other regional differences, support for a major party of the populist platform, the free silver, grew. So the free silver idea was still pretty popular. Some Democrats even took up the cause in the election of 1896. So Democrats are hopping onto this free silver idea. All right, hopping into the election of 1896, you had the Democrat William Jennings Bryan. He was a strong advocate of dropping the gold standard and supported that free silver plan. He traveled the country giving speeches and won the endorsement of the Populist Party. Yep, they supported the Democrat Jennings Bryan, and apparently he was a very, very good public speaker. His stump speech was very good. The Republican candidate was William McKinley. McKinley supported the gold standard. He liked the way it was. He had 14 years of experience in the House of Representatives and served for 4 years as the governor of Ohio. McKinley didn't travel to give his speeches. He literally had people come to his house and go on his porch, and then he would give his speeches. It was called the Front Porch Campaign. Sounds weird, but from what I've read, it wasn't all that uncommon at that time. It was more uncommon for William Jennings Bryan to go around giving his stump speeches like that. You can check out the map here, and you'll see very clearly who won electoral votes. Red won, that's McKinley. So as you can see, McKinley won handily, carrying one of the most populated states here in the north. But William Jennings Bryan had a good showing. You see, the popular vote is a little closer. Despite the loss, some major ideas of the populists survived and came to fruition in the coming century. For example, an 8-hour workday has been instituted. Now a lot of us work 8-hour workdays. This was adopted in the early 1900s, as well as an income tax. Oh, thank you so much for the income tax. We all love that. What else do we have? Oh, the direct election of senators. It wasn't always like that. You didn't always have people voting to elect senators. They were picked by the House of Representatives. In 1933, the nation even dropped the gold standard. Now, who knows why my $10 bill is worth $10? Maybe just because we believe it's worth $10. All right. On the next page, you'll have your quiz. It'll be your standard 5-question, 10-point quiz with 2 attempts. Hey, if you need anything, let me know. You have any questions about farmers, any burning desire to know more about the gold standard and the free silver plan, let me know. We'll talk about it. Otherwise, hey, have a good one, all right?